Heavy is the head that has to manage all of this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel.
We're now incentivized to buy what we already buy.
Fumbling through college had me building.
I also got some done on the other side.
And that was right around, I would say, May, maybe right before renewing the lease for this property.
Welcome to the channel, Martha.
Thank you for having me here.
Oh, I was going to say, I am getting up in their names, I'll tell you what.
Bills paid by other people, life was never this good. I had to step back, knowing that it's...
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about the foreclosure rate has increased 32%. And now we're seeing foreclosures in January of 2026 at 40,532 homes. Now this is kind of horrible because you're gonna have people who are simply not able to pivot. And why do I say they can't pivot? Is because they have these low interest rate mortgages that is holding them tight to this one state or one community. Then you also have the inability to find new jobs. So what's going to happen is, you know, people can't find work. What do? They sit on the sidelines because they can't leave this mortgage, or do they rent out the house and look for something else, right? And then on the other end, if you can't look for new work and let's say you get laid off, the job security is not there in the market, right? Job security is not there. You see layoff after layoff after layoffs, especially with these tech jobs. And so it's honestly surprising that there's not more people who are really struggling with home ownership right now. To only see 40,000 in foreclosures, it tells me that people are very, very resilient in this market, and they're really pushing through, and they're finding new ways in order to make money. I know tons of people who are doing Uber, DoorDash, and whatever it is they can in order to scrape by that monthly mortgage payment. There are people who have been spinning that hamster wheel their whole life, especially if you're doing software engineering, if you're doing one of these high paying jobs where you're working 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week even. When you put that type of work in on a Uber or on a DoorDash, you're doing 240 hours a month. It's easy for somebody to say, yeah, I can get to that mortgage payment at base minimum, right? At bare minimum, you can get to that mortgage payment and say, okay, that's covered. I got a roof over my head. Let's chug along to the next month, right? And so we're seeing a lot of people who are super hardworking have to really put in the hours in order to stay afloat, in order to stay ahead, especially with job security being at an all-time low, right? All-time low. So it is still not a time to buy, guys. Still not a time to buy. We're transitioning from foreclosures to actually let's talk about how to really solidify yourself in order to get ahead. So again, we talk about emergency fund. But if you're already in a situation where your home may be foreclosed upon, or maybe you're struggling with rent, and right now you're having difficulties paying your rent month over month or week to week, right? At this point, you have to start looking for alternative options that best suit your lifestyle. And so for me, between 2021 and 2026, it was very convenient for me to do house hacking, to rent by the room, to do all these different strategies that allowed me to have additional income when I was grinding in order to put more money back in my pocket for saving, for investing, and then for leisure time. I was locked in tunnel vision for so long, and that's how you get to the point where you can say, okay, I can relax, I can breathe a little bit. Now, if you have children, I would not do this with children. So if you had children, you got to start thinking a little bit different, a little bit more effectively, right? Maybe you have a good friend, or maybe you have, I don't know, a relative that you can have move in. I know somebody who's currently moving in with their daughter, right? They're moving in together in order to ensure that their bills are paid month over month, because they were living separately. They was doing their thing. But guess what? everything is going up. Utilities, water, electric, gas, all that stuff is going up. And so it's important that you structure your life in a way that it allows you to get ahead when markets are trying to tighten up so much that you can't, right? And so if you've already gotten to a place where you're potentially going to get foreclosed upon, then you got to also think, how can I maneuver? How can I downsize? Do I really need this home? And if so, what can I get rid of in order to alleviate some of that burden? Because sometimes it doesn't necessarily require you to work super hard, but maybe it requires you to sell a few things that you may not need. For example, I have a massage chair. I use it maybe 5 times a year, right? Cost me about $2,000. Maybe I'll let that go for $900 if I'm in hard times. Somebody will pick that up for $900. That's going to save me possibly a week of door dashing and Ubering and all that other stuff that you don't necessarily need to do when you have things that are, I'm not going to say cluttering the house because it is nice. I like it, but it's not essential, right? It's not essential. I don't need to be on a massage chair when I need to be getting to the bag, you feel me? So there's little things like that that you have to truly be looking into to say, how do I want my life to look? How do I want to get to A to B? And what is the path of most resistance versus the path of least resistance, and what am I willing to do in order to keep my lifestyle the way it is? I know people who are dog walkers for their community, people who are hair braiders for their community. A lot of businesses are going to make you way more money than you'll make doing other things. For example, what girl these days makes less than $120 doing anyone's hair? And on top of that, it better come washed, right? I know y'all still not washing people's hair for less than $100 these days. So it's easy. You got, I don't know how hard it is to do this hair, but let's say you got 2 appointments a day. Just 2 appointments, that's $200. $200 a day. You keep yourself booked, keep yourself busy. When you book them busy, you get into a bag. If you're booked and busy, you're getting to a bag. Don't wait to fall on hard times before you create that safety net for you. So again, emergency fund, emergency fund, emergency fund. I always tell people have at least 12 months. If you don't got 12 months, what are you doing? You feel me? All right, so if you like this video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You know I post on YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify for podcasters, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Peace.